I believe there are certain habits that have helped make successful people successful. In this video, I'm going to talk about 5 things that I think have helped people achieve most of their goals, if not all. I by no means haven't achieved all of my goals in life, and I am nowhere close to achieving all of them yet. But I do think that some of the goals that I have achieved have been achieved due to these habits, and I would like to integrate most of these habits into my life to help me achieve most of my goals, the same way you can achieve all of yours. If you're like me and have certain goals, whether that be career-wise, passion project-wise, or relationship-wise, that you would rather die trying to achieve than wake up one day at 70 realizing you have a life full of regrets, then I hope this video speaks to you. One is to ignore the inner critic. A lot of times people think that people who are successful don't tend to have this inner voice of self-doubt that is constantly pressing at them. But I don't think that's the truth at all. The thing is, most people aren't fully confident throughout their whole lives. They're going to have a moment of weakness, a moment where self-doubt is almost so close to taking over. The only difference is that successful people don't act on it. You might be able to have a thought and just ignore it. It's not that successful people have never had the thought that I'm not capable of this. I think that they're able to recognize that it's just a thought. This is something I recently learned in this concept used by psychologists called ACT. It stands for Acceptance and Commitment Therapy, and it's this idea that realizing sometimes you're not going to be able to change your thoughts, but instead just think of it as a thought. For example, the moment you have the thought that I'm a failure, say to yourself, I am having the thought that I am a failure. That allows you to disconnect from something that your brain is trying to connect to you. Instead, it's just a thought. It's not you. You're just having the thought. You're not actually a failure. 2 is initial obsession with their goal. I think this one is so important and has been the biggest push for successful people. Most people who have achieved something will tell you that they were initially obsessed with getting it. A successful athlete at the moment was probably obsessed with becoming an athlete when they had just started out. I think this is what really drives people towards achieving their goals, and without it, something that might take a shorter amount of time will probably take way longer and have way more breaks throughout their journey. Obsession first, routine later. Once that obsession gets the ball rolling, then the routine comes in. If there isn't an obsession, you just won't feel as motivated to achieve the goal. I also think another reason obsession is so important because it really pushes you through those failures. When you fail, instead of giving up, obsession is what really pushes you to keep going. Number 3 is improving from failures. I think successful people are the kind of people who don't just give up when they fail. In fact, their obsession for this goal is so high that the moment they fail, they feel the need to redeem themselves by continuing and proving that they are actually able to achieve this goal. For example, Jamie Oliver experienced a huge setback in 2019 when he was in tens of millions of pounds in debt. But instead of giving up, he managed to make up for it after, and now he's back up and running. But if he didn't care about his business enough and had just given up at that point, he wouldn't be where he is now again. This is the mindset I think that a lot of successful people have, because when they're trying to achieve a goal that might not seem attainable in the eyes of other people, they develop this sense of confidence because they're sure that they will be able to prove to others that they are actually able to do it, because they know they're not going to give up at the sight of failure and instead use it like data to proceed to fix it. The next one is that environment trumps will. This is one of my favorite theories, and it's by Peter Sage in his TED Talk, and I have actually spoken about this in my other video called How to Stop Procrastinating and End Self-Doubt that I will link over here. It's this idea that the environment is always the bigger influence in comparison to your own willpower. For example, you might be able to do everything you can to keep yourself warm, like putting on multiple layers and trying to drink warm water, but if you live in a freezer, you will eventually get cold. This is something people might struggle with if they're people pleasers. Like if you force yourself to be around people that you don't find good company, it's probably going to stray you from your goals. Doesn't mean you're not rude for being friends with them, because there are billions of people in the world, and just because you might not be friends with them, there's no say that they won't be able to find other friends. Same with you. I think successful people tend to be able to resist unhealthy social influence really well. And that brings me to my next point, because if your only options with company is unhealthy, then maybe it's important to build a relationship with yourself. The next one is that I think that successful people have a really good relationship with themselves. Goals are very individualistic, and you're not going to be able to force someone to make you achieve them. It has to come from within. It has to come from something that you know you want. And it's not very easy to plant a goal in someone's head or expect someone else to plant it in for you. Most people who have achieved their goals have done it mainly by themselves. For example, most YouTube channels are done alone. If you take the exception of siblings and couples, because those are relationships that don't tend to just disappear at any time. Most of the time, when you go into something by yourself, you're more likely to push through because you're doing it alone and no one else is really relying on you as much. But when it's a team effort, you'll find moments of guilt where you feel that you could be doing better, or moments of anger where you feel your other partner might be able to do better. I have tried and failed to set up successful YouTube channels with friends, so that is my experience with it. And that's when I realized this stuff is meant to be done alone, because goals are individualistic and it's so rare for you to find someone with the exact same goals as you. There's probably no one in the world who wants the exact same thing as you, because everyone's been born different, everyone's been raised different, everyone has different goals. And the reason why I think successful people have a really good relationship with themselves is because you have to be able to tolerate yourself for long enough to be able to work on your goals, even if you're alone. By that I mean being able to sit in a room by yourself alone without feeling bored or annoyed that you're not surrounded by people all the time. If a person's unable to do this, they're likely going to chase external relationships for happiness, whether that be friendships or romantic relationships. And because of that, not being able to set aside time for themselves and their goals, because they constantly want to be surrounded by people. So those are 5 habits that I think successful people tend to have that have definitely helped them be successful and achieve most of their goals. Again, I'm no expert, but I do like to know this to help me achieve my own goals. By the way, if you're new here, I would really appreciate it if you would check out my channel and consider subscribing. It would help me out so much. I post every week and I hope to see you next week. Bye!